Good evening, fuckers. We are back with the next Train Simulator Classic request video. And this one came about as a result of a comment that I received during one of the videos of the Behemoth run. More specifically, it came about as a result of me completely misreading this particular comment. So it was a comment from Northlander, and what he was saying in it was that he was taking the various points of the entire Behemoth run, and he was doing it, following it along in Flight Simulator 2025. And he's done a couple of videos which he's put on his channel. And if you think the scenery in Scotland looks great in this, wait till you see his videos of it from the air, with a much more recent graphics engine. It looks absolutely staggering, so yeah, you definitely want to go and take a look at those. But somehow, when I read that, I interpreted it as him requesting that I do runs in this game of train journeys that I took in real life. Don't ask me how on earth I managed to interpret it as that when it blindingly obviously was not saying anything of the sort. But nevertheless, that was what I read it as saying. And then I thought about it for a few days, and there's not actually a hell of a lot of train journeys that I can do in this game that I have actually taken in real life, but there are a few. So I thought, okay, I'll do 2 or 3 of them. So this is the first one. This is also the only one I can do where I will be able to do the entire journey. The others are all going to be just partial ones because, the routes are not there for me to do the whole thing. But this one is. So we are on the West Coast Main Line South, and not for the first time. We are starting at Birmingham New Street and we are going right the way down to Euston. Now, stops on the way. Well, I definitely remember we stopped at Rugby and at Milton Keynes. Pretty sure we also stopped at Watford Junction. And we also stopped fairly soon after we actually set off from New Street. So I can't remember if it was Birmingham International, although I'm sure it wasn't called that then. I think it was called something like Birmingham Airport Parkway, or Coventry. I'm going to guess Coventry. So, okay, so our stops on the way are Coventry, Rugby, Milton Keynes, Watford Junction, and then we'll finish at Euston. And our train for this is, again, I'm having to make a bit of a guess because I don't remember what it was, but I do remember that it was a flat fronted loco, and we did seem to be going at a fair rate. So by a process of elimination, I've decided it was the Class 87. Which means that, this is going to be a long old route in a tap changer controlled loco. I don't mind a tap changer, but I wouldn't say I was one of the best at using it, especially when it comes to braking for stops at various stations. But nevertheless, we're still going to do all of those stops that I mentioned because I've got to try and get the hang of it. So anyway, that is the setup. Well, as far as the specifics, it's summer, because I certainly remember it was summer. I've got cloudy. I can't for the life of me remember what the weather was like. And I've set it to 10:30. I know it was comparatively early that I left, so 10:30 will do. Right, that is the setup. Let's get this up and running. Right, here we are. Now, as always, yeah, it starts us in this rather sort of like dark and murky part of the station. But anyway, let's get ourselves up and running. So it's a bit of, well, a bit more of a faff to get us up and running than it is in the old DTG version. So, right, lights next. So, right, yeah, we'll put instrument lights on. Tail lights we don't need now. Headlights on. Yeah, we'll put all of the marker lights on because I'm not sure what the actual setup for the marker lights is supposed to be, so yeah, I'll just stick the lot on and hope for the best. Right, so we are all set up, and yeah, here we are. Now, this particular livery, yeah, I can say with absolute certainty the train that I took back in the day when I made this trip did not have this particular livery. I'll wait till we're actually outside, or out in the open anyway, and I can then show you what I mean. Let's get ourselves ready to go. Certainly hear a fair bit of power being fed to the motors from the overhead. Let's get the brakes off. Yeah, so they are coming down. And once the brakes are at 0, we will start pulling away. And remember that yeah, we need to keep an eye on the ammeters here. So 10 mph limit as we are pulling out of New Street. Now, if you are one of those players who is not so keen on the tap changer, I know that Jim from Jim Plays is not a big fan of it. Well, this one requires a bit more faffing about than the DTG version. So if you're not keen on that one, you may not be all that keen on this one, to put it mildly. I'll explain more once we're actually out of here and we're able to get some speed up. So we are on a 1 in 66, so we can't yeah, we are actually losing speed as we go up, so we'll nudge up a couple of more notches, I don't want to overdo it though, because once we get onto the straight we will start accelerating at a right old rate. And also, where it's so dark at the moment, I can't quite see where the needles are in the ammeters there. So anyway, we are now in the 30 mph zone. Well into the yellow there, so we won't add any more. Well, now that we are out in the open, I can show you, yes, this is the livery that we have, and this is the GBR freight livery for the 87, and this is genuinely the livery they use for the 87 GBR freight ones. And yeah, it's rather basic compared to the usual GBR freight livery. To put it mildly, I much prefer the usual one. This one is a bit bland. And yeah, Mark III carriages, which I certainly remember, but I wasn't sure what order they went in, so I didn't quite go mad enough and say that I went random with it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm nowhere near accurate. So we're still going at a fairly slow rate, but we can certainly nudge up a bit now. Still going, actually we are now going downhill, 1 in 112. You can see our acceleration rate is a bit better. I'm trying to see what notch we're in. It looks like we are still quite low. Yeah, we are still very low on the old notches. We'll power up a bit more. Mind you, we are fast approaching the speed limit for the section we're in. Hopefully we'll enter that 60 section before we yeah, hit 40. It looks like we're going to. That's fine. And then we're going to very quickly enter a 100 zone, so yeah, we can nudge up a good amount here. I'll certainly say straight off the bat that the audio within the cab of this class 87, this is the Armstrong Powerhouse one, is a lot more bearable than the DTG one. So we're still accelerating quite slowly. So that was Adderley Station that we sort of went through, one of those blink and you miss it moments. And yeah, Stetchford is our next stop. Once we pass Stetchford, we enter a 110 mph zone, which is the max speed of this thing, but we are about to enter a neutral zone. At least I thought that's what that sign indicated, but maybe not. I know there is a neutral zone that's not too far away. Let's continue notching up. What are we up to now? Oh yeah, we're quite near the max. Oh, here it is. Yeah, that's the neutral zone. So now all the notches go back down, but we're still going at full speed. Here the power has just come back. Let's go through Stetchford Station there. But now that the power is back, I've just got to wait for the yeah, notches are back down the bottom, but now we can run it up, and we should be able to do that pretty much to the top without worrying about the ammeters going into the red. In fact, it is now at the top. So here is Lee Hall. So yeah, driving this is quite a bit different compared to driving the DTG version, because with that one, if you wanted to just, you know, notch up one step or notch down one step, then it was just the A or D keys. Now in this, if you use just the A or D keys, it will actually put it straight into the running up and running down option, rather than just individually notching through them. And if you want to individually notch up yourself, which is certainly what you want to be doing if you are starting from standstill, you have to hold down U while you are pressing either A or D to notch up or notch down. So that was Marston Green. We are now speeding, and I've accidentally put the put it into off. I've now got to wait for all of the just put some gradual braking in there. Birmingham International is the next stop, so we are not stopping there. Okay, I can put it into running up again now. Once we leave Birmingham International Station, we are really not that far from the next 110 zone. Well, I don't think it's until we leave Birmingham itself. So yeah, here is International Station. But it's not until we leave Birmingham itself that we start to get the 125 zones. And of course, we can't do 125 in this thing. And now I've got to apply a little braking just to bring us back down to I need to notch down a little bit. I think I've notched down too many, yeah. In fact, I think I have accidentally put it into off again, because yeah, it's continuing to notch down all the way. So, okay, right, well, let's notch up again. But we'll only take it up to about... Well, actually, I'll take it right up to the top, and then I'll... work out how many down we need to go. It's probably about 9 or 10 notches down from the top. So we are accelerating again as we go through Hampton in Arden Station. I also think, yeah, let's open the windows and get a bit more of the train sound. That was a 350 that we just went by. Okay, notches are at the top, so we'll notch down. Right. that was running down. I hope it hasn't run down too many. Okay, so knots down 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I've knots down 9. In fact, we are decelerating at a pretty good rate, although we are going up a 1 in 130. So let's actually notch up a couple, try and reduce the amount that we're coming down by. It's not too bad. We have a 100 mph limit coming up. We are below it. So here is Berkswell or Barkswell station. I think we've just gone through a neutral zone there. Well, let's find out. No. What a time for a tunnel to come along. Yeah, it does look like that was a tunnel, that was a neutral zone we went through, because I could notch down but I could not notch up, so we've got to reset it again. So the problem with driving the 87 is you really don't have a lot of time to just sort of like sit back. So it looks like it's back at 0. So let's start notching back up again. Yeah, there we go. We'll run it up. Okay, we are at max. So we'll now just nudge down a bit, 9 steps, because we have some speed limit decreases coming up, and we also have Coventry station coming up. So here is Canley. And I'm going to start running down in the notches, and we can start to brake. I'm pretty sure we must be back down to 0. We are, so we'll put this back into hold. We're coming in rather slowly now. Should have released the brakes long before I did. So it's a 9-coach train that we have here. So it's pretty standard for Birmingham to London intercity services. So there we are. Now I've got to remember the oh, in fact, right, it is just the regular T key to yeah, open the doors. Anyway, here we are at Coventry. Just want to make sure that yeah, all the doors are shut before I end up pulling away. I think we will get the guard's whistle though before pulling away. So you can see 125 mph zone very close by. Trouble is, our next stop is the next station that we will be approaching, which is Rugby. So surely the all doors are closed now. I think everyone's on. Yeah, trouble with using the Mark III coaches is, yeah, they've all got Intercity 125 written on them, and we are most certainly not on an Intercity 125 train. Yeah, I think we're fine. Let's get back underway. Very slow to get moving from standing start. I don't really want to put the ammeter and needles too far into the yellow. I certainly don't want them going into the red. So in a 80 mph zone, but it won't be long before we're into a 125. And basically in the 125 zone we can just keep on notching up until we're at max and then forget about it. There's no way we're going to be able to do 125 plus, so yeah, there's no risk of speeding. But like I say, the next station is Rugby, so bit of a balancing act, knowing how fast to go and yet, you know, not going so fast that I'm going to have difficulty stopping at the station there. And then once I have got it notched up all the way, we'll have a neutral zone coming along. So I'm not really going to get the chance to just be able to sit back and say, yeah, we're fine now. So we are now in the 125 zone. And I'm not accelerating anywhere near fast enough. I do remember one of Jim's criticisms of the 87 was that it was quite a convoluted control system and that it wasn't really needed. Which is, I mean, it's a fair point, but you need to also take into account that when this was built, and the first 87s were built sometime in the 60s, I can't remember exactly when, compared to the control method that all the other locos had, or the vast majority of other locos had, this was simplified. I mean, the control method used in the 76 and the 77, that was the control method used in the majority of electric locos of that time. It wasn't until the experimental models, the class 81, 82, 83, and then not long after those, the 84 came along. It wasn't until all of those that we got this, and this is the simplified control method. So I think it's one of those sort of circumstances where it's a case of be careful what you wish for. You could get rid of this control system, but you would then end up with the control system of the class 76 and 77, and that does have you longing for the return of this. So I think we are pretty much at full. Yeah, we are at full. There goes a 390. So yeah, I mean the control system that the 390 uses, which is, you know, essentially the same as the old diesels. Yeah, that was the stuff of pure fantasy back in the 60s when this thing was built. I mean, every driver back then felt the same way. They were all thinking, oh, if only we could drive this like a diesel. But yeah, the technology at the time just meant it couldn't be done. So we're very near the official max speed of class 87. There we are, 110, and this is with 9 full passenger coaches. 9 full Mark III passenger coaches. Let's see how far beyond 110 we can actually go. There goes 221. I mean, a train like the 221 really was pure science fiction at the time this thing was built. So we have a 75 mph section coming up. We need to start running down, and we also need to start braking. So I've let it run down a hell of a lot actually. Turns out this section is not the section I thought. I thought this was the approach to Rugby station. Ah, it is. So we have double yellow and I've accidentally switched it off. Well, as it's a double yellow, we'll continue braking. We're on this 1 in 55 gradient at the moment. Yeah, it looks like a single yellow coming up. It's actually not too bad. It's showing us that, yeah, we are going to be going over points. We start picking up speed. We're now going down 1 in 55. Yep. So we should now be in the on the line with the green aspects. We should be able to keep going, but we do have our scheduled stop here. Just about every train that runs on this line has to stop at Rugby, whether you're in a slow train or the fastest of express trains. Rugby is a compulsory stop. There's only one train that runs on this line that does not stop here, and that is the Caledonian Sleeper. Go. I mean, we can clearly see the green aspect, but just had it confirmed. Put the power back into hold, but yeah, here we are then at Rugby. So just in case you are not aware, the reason why this is a compulsory stop. Firstly, it's one of the major freight depots in the country, although Coventry, which isn't too far away, but it's on the Northampton loop, is another one. But this one also has the junction to go to the Trent Valley part of the West Coast Main Line. So if you are wanting, you know, Stafford, Nuneaton, all those places, then yeah, you would have to change here. I mean, there are plenty of West Coast Main Line trains that originate in Euston that go straight down the Trent Valley line, and I have a feeling that once I have that missing link, and no surprises, once I have that, I am going to do a full run of the West Coast Main Line, but I think I will probably do it with the Trent Valley line section included. Right, all the doors are shut, just wait for the brakes to come off, and we can start notching up all over again. So as always, very slow to pull away. I'm sure there is a way of being able to pull away much quicker than I have pretty much always done, but I haven't got a clue how to do it. I'm always worried that if I put power into the red zone, that's it, it's just going to completely bollocks it up. I must admit, my stops so far have not been too bad. I thought they were going to be unmitigated disasters, but I've not done badly at all. Certainly not by my usual standards. And pulling away from the stations from a standing start has not been so impressive, but you know, I can only improve on one thing at a time. You can't expect me to make decent stops at stations and pull away from them at a decent rate as well. Let's see where we are. So yeah, we're still only down here on the notches. So of course, with most modern electric locos or emus, you're going to have, you know, between 4 and 7 notches of power. This thing has, it's either 35 or 37 of them. And the Class 86, which was the only other one of this series to really be produced in large numbers, that had 31 notches. Class 85 had a reasonable number of them built. I think there was about 40 of them. I think that one had 31 as well. So anyway, the next stop is Milton Keynes. We are going to be going through a fair few stations before there, but I also suspect that quite a few of those stations will have speed limits that will force us to yeah, have to slow down. We passed a sign that I thought meant neutral zone, but in fact it doesn't, which I'm rather glad about, because if we must power down, I'd rather do it once we have actually been able to get to full power, because then once the power's back on I can just run it straight up. In fact, with where we are now, I'm pretty sure I would be able to just run it up anyway. Where are we now? So we're now there, so yeah, we're quite close. And that's a neutral zone we just went through. Right, we've got line power back. Yeah, hear it. Well, I've still got to wait for the notches to come down. There we go. Right, so let's start notching back up, but this time we will run it up. See how close we can get to the top before we've got to release it. Okay, didn't quite make it to the top. I think we're only like 1 or 2 notches off though. Needles are well into the yellow zone. I'd rather they not be there. We do have a speed decrease coming up as well, just as we enter this rather long tunnel. But if speed decrease to 110, we're still nowhere near there. We're still trying to accelerate up to that. But once we're out of the tunnel, we could then start going up to 125 again. So in fact, I think yeah, we won't bother notching up these last 2 until we get there. We're still accelerating, well, relatively okay. But we're also still 20 mph below this current speed limit. So we are entering the 125, and we're now in it. So, yep. So we are now at the top notch. So we are now running in wheat field. So I don't think we are going to be able to do 125, but so far we have been able to reach 112. So are we going to get any trackside views? That's the big question. I suspect it's a no on that one. So it's a 4th. We'll try one more. We are at the max operational speed. Yeah, it's still yeah, just overhead views all the way. But you compare this thing to the Glasgow subway train in the previous video. Now that thing was extremely extremely efficient when it came to its power. It's a neutral section. But yeah, the Glasgow subway train, fantastically efficient as far as its electrical consumption. This thing most definitely is not. Okay, let's run it back up again. I mean, you look at the amperage that we end up using as we go up through the notches. So obviously we will let this run up right through to the max. I think that is it. Yep, that's there. So yeah, we are using 720 amps. Now we do have regenerative brakes in this. It does not regenerate anything like the amount that we are consuming though. So up to 114. Now 115, we're entering a 120 zone any second. Now. We're up to 120. We're at the limit of this section we're in. We are now entering the 125 zone, but God, that was close. We were very nearly speeding there. So we are at 121. I mean, you can see here, max speed 110. And yet we're able to do 122. I can't help thinking this thing could actually do 125. We passed another 221. And even if we can't, we're only 3 mph off it. Now I do think that if you were travelling from London to Scotland and you wanted to get there as quick as possible, the East Coast Main Line is probably your best bet. But if you wanted, I mean, obviously if you're going somewhere like, you know, Birmingham, Liverpool, or, you know, you specifically had to get off at Glasgow once you're in Scotland, then yeah, okay, the West Coast. But also the West Coast Main Line, it's much more interesting. There's a much more great scenery. It's a much more interesting route. I mean, so much of the East Coast Main Line is just a straight line. You know, pretty much from London to Liverpool is you know, gun barrel straight for so much of it. This is a much more interesting, much more windy route. Has much more interesting scenery. So So you get, you know, some great views and that. The West Coast Main Line is just the better looking route. It does take longer, but say if you're on something like a sleeper, then you don't care. Mind you, if you're on a sleeper, you're not going to be looking at the scenery all that much. So we are at 123, so we're only 2 mph off the max speed. Only 2 mph off the speed of a class 43 HST. In fact, we've just lost an mph. We are going uphill, but it's only 1 in 320, but I mean, it could be enough. Probably right on the very limit of how fast this thing can go. Snowing again. So yeah, it must be this uphill gradient is enough to slow us down. I also have a feeling that a neutral section is going to be coming up fairly soon. And there it is. The line power is back. You hear the very distinctive hum of the electric motors. We've just got to wait for the notches to go right way back to zero. There we are. So even though we slowed during that, we're still doing 7 mph more than the max speed supposedly. Well, now 6. The bottom line is, going through that neutral zone, neutral section as I say, hasn't affected our performance in any way. So we are now back up to top notch, which is a wheat field. There goes a 350. That's a train that I need to do a video of. I think I've done a video in a 350, but I think it's only been the one. No idea what station this was. So Wolverton station's coming up, and I think that means Milton Keynes is not that far away. But we can come racing through here at 123 mph. There's a 390 in there. Yeah, here we go. Past the 390. Passed it so quickly it's almost like it was standing still. So that was Wolverton. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the next station is Milton Keynes, and there's not a big old gap between Wolverton and Milton Keynes either. Yeah, there it is. So let's start running down, and we can also start braking. We are back at knots 0. We need to start braking a lot harder than this. Well, I think I've just accidentally put it into the emergency brakes. Or maybe not. Okay, I think we can release the brakes in a bit now. Yeah, it does look like that was not the emergency brakes that kicked in. It must have just been a yeah, just the sound effect of the brakes being applied at max, and I'm just not used to hearing it. So yeah, in fact, it's worked out. We've stopped really well there. So yes, this is Milton Keynes Central. So Euston is now less than 50 miles away. Looks to me like the doors are all shut. That doesn't help. That's a 350 coming in. Yeah, our doors are all shut, aren't they? Right. Time to start with the old the whole sequence all over again. So our next stop is Watford Junction. That is our final stop before we actually reach Euston. Not a big surprise, because Watford Junction is not exactly far away from Euston Station. It does rather amaze me that there are there's at least one of the Caledonian sleepers stops at Watford Junction. I mean, it's like you've barely got underway and you have your first stop. I really do not see the point of it. Take it a bit more into the yellow this time, try and get our acceleration a bit quicker. Our acceleration from Coventry station was incredibly slow. I mean, this isn't exactly, you know, like rocketing out of here, but well, it's certainly better than our departure from Coventry anyway. So, as far as me taking this route, I did this in 91, and it was, yeah, there was a tour going on around England, and I was really keen to see not just one day. I wanted to see the whole thing. There was only three nights. So I went from London to Leeds, and then from Leeds on to Bradford. And the first night of it was the Gods of Grind 2 tour. Had Carcass were headlining, and the other three bands were Entombed, Cathedral and Confessor. So it was all bands that I was a big fan of. So yeah, I went to the first night at Bradford, and there was then the next show was in Birmingham. I can't remember the name of the venue. I'm pretty sure the Bradford venue was Queen's Hall or something, or Queen's Hall. Can't remember the name of the Birmingham venue though. And then after the Birmingham show, let's say the Bradford one, there was then, I had a night, or yeah, the next day they weren't playing. It was the day after they were in Birmingham, so I made my way to Birmingham. Obviously can't do that route in this game. And then yeah, saw the Birmingham show, and I then had the next night they were doing the London show. So yeah, I had to get from Birmingham to London a bit lively, and that's where this trip comes in. We're not quite at the top yet. But we are now. We are fast catching up with this 350 EMU. And 390 Pendolino passes us by. We've got another 350 which we are catching up. Actually, no, it's approaching us. So yeah, those two 350s stuck using the slow lanes. Not surprising, really. So anyway, the next journey that I'll be doing in this that is covering a journey that I took. I can only do partially, but yeah, it's that first one, the London to Leeds journey that I made to get to the first of those shows. I've got to take us down several notches because we're approaching a 110 zone and we're already doing 110. So yeah, this works out quite well. But yeah, that other well, that next journey recreation, I can only take us as far as Peterborough. So we'll do the London to Peterborough leg, but yeah, after Peterborough, it strikes me as we took a bit of an unusual route, because after Peterborough our next stop was Sheffield, then it was Doncaster, then Wakefield, and then Leeds. Now the Doncaster, Wakefield, Leeds section, yeah, it makes sense, but going from Peterborough to Sheffield to Doncaster, that bit doesn't make sense to me at all. Leighton Buzzard station fast approaching. As we're going through there, we will also be able to accelerate back up to 125. So yeah, here is Leighton Buzzard. We are at the top notch. And there is a neutral zone, or a neutral section. So yeah, line power is back. We've got to wait for notches to reach 0. There it is. We can just run it all the way up. Cheddington next station, we'll be just going straight through. Right, we're at the max. So yeah, Jennington Station, it's about as boring as the place. Aha, we have our trackside view. Trackside view of the Freight 87 taking passengers. Yep. That's a lot of use, isn't it? Well, there you go, we even got the underground view of it. So that flashing yellow is not for us, so we can just ignore that. So ETA has us about half hour or so away from Euston. It's not taking into account our stops though, and considering our rather slow departure from stations, I think it will take a bit longer than that. But also from Watford onwards, we're certainly not going to be going at full speed. So that is where I really need to watch what I'm doing with yeah, the old notching up and down business. So we have Tring Station coming up. Yeah, again, not a particularly memorable station, that one. And another 350. If I was to do a 350 run, I would probably do something like either London or Watford to somewhere like Milton Keynes. To do a little bit of braking here because we've got to get ourselves down to 115 for Berkhamsted Station. There we go. Yeah, Berkhamsted on a curve. Never been a big fan of stations that are on curves. We're back in the 125 zone though, so we can start running up again. Let's just check. We must have gone through a neutral zone because our power actually went down to 0, or the notches rather went down to 0. sounded like we went through another neutral section. I missed the sign. Let's find out. Yeah, I can't notch back up again, so we got to take it right down again. So we'll be notching back up, or running back up anyway, as we go through Hempstead Station. There we go. So, Hempstead. Apsley Station coming along pretty soon afterwards, and another 390. So we are back up to top notch again. Here is Apsley Station. Yeah, it's another pretty uninspired looking station there. It looks like it's a relatively major sized town, but I can't say it's one that I am remotely familiar with. So Kings Langley coming up. The stations are coming along thick and fast now. And that would suggest that we are certainly approaching the outskirts of North London. I suspect Watford is not that far away. Here is at Kings Langley. We need to start braking. Okay. I think, yeah, it does look like there is something about the braking system that I'm using at the moment. It's taken our notches down to 0 again. So the braking system that, yeah, is having some effect. I'm just not familiar with it. Well, we'll let it run up, but we're not going to let it run up right to the top. Especially as Watford is now coming up. So in fact we'll let it run back down again. I think, yeah, it's now at notch 0, so we're okay. We also need to start braking a bit harder than this. Really surprised to see a 125 mph zone appearing after Watford Junction station here. don't know if we'll be able to get the whole train on here. Actually, yeah, it looks like it shouldn't be a problem. This is certainly quite a different train compared to the last time I stopped in this station in this game. When I was in the 507, and now we are in, yeah, this year's great thing. So here we are at Watford Junction. Yeah, I stopped either there or yeah, one of these areas here in the 507. Yeah, quite the different train driving experience on that particular occasion. I can see some of the doors still open now. They've all just shut. So I think we are all set. Brakes are off. Let's get underway. Now, even though there is a 125 zone coming up, I think it's highly unlikely that I will be able to really take advantage of it. Euston is only 17 miles away, so yeah, I really don't think we're going to be able to take advantage of that 125 zone at all. Yellow aspect is not for us, so there you go. So here we are at a bushy station. So I mean, it is a bit ridiculous. We are still trying to accelerate from the station we left. We've gone through this one. I think that rather shows that, yeah, I'm not too great at accelerating from standstill in the old 87. We're not far from the top notch. Yeah, we're only a couple of notches or so off it now. Yeah, let's see, we're at top notch now. What's this we got coming up here? Looks like a 378. It is a 378. Left that far behind. No idea what station this is, but we're going through the avoiding line obviously. But yeah, that's the station that a 378 would stop at, but we are not. Not just the 378, the underground would as well. So Harrow and Wealdstone coming up. How many stations has Harrow got? There's the two on the Metropolitan line that we did quite recently. Then there's this one. I mean, I didn't think Harrow was that big a town. Or is it just because, yeah, because of the public school there, oh, we've got to make sure that there's plenty of transport connections for that one. So yeah, here we are, Harrow and Wealdstone Station. So what was it I was saying about not being able to take advantage of this 125 mph section? We're back up to 116. So we pass another 378 and go past another station through the avoiding line. Right, see, it's not so much avoiding lines, it's just that, you know, we're not on the DC line, which is what those last two lines there are. So yeah, we can stop there even if we wanted to. We don't want to. Wembley Central coming up next. And another neutral section we've just been through. So it's just waiting for the notches to finish dropping. Run it back up again, well, but not all the way up. Yeah, Wembley Central. So yeah, there's the stadium. Apparently the enhancement pack for the Metropolitan line does a much better job of rendering Wembley Stadium. Right, we'll start bringing our speed down because yeah, this 110 zone. In fact, I think our speed, or yeah, the notches, yep, again, because of that braking system, I actually don't mind that. It's just that I wasn't expecting it. especially when you consider where we are. We are just over 6 miles away from Euston now, so I think we're going to have a fair few speed reductions coming up. So I'm quite happy to let us continue coasting and not notch up any. So here we are, 85 zone approaching. In fact, we'll brake for the 80 zone that's just beyond it. Another 378. Again, another station which we are avoiding, but this time it is through an avoiding line. That's for the 55 that's coming up, so let's start brake for that. Another 221. We have a 50 mph limit as we exit this tunnel. You're going to need to start braking slightly for that. We braked a bit too hard really, but there we go, we've done it. So we now have this awkward downhill section that we have to deal with as we enter Euston. We not only need to stop ourselves from speeding up, we also need to bring our speed down. So double yellow, which is just as we were expecting. So you have the 25 mph zone, but yeah, we're on a 1 in 70 downhill section here. So we are going to be picking up speed as we approach here, if we didn't start braking. Platform 3 is all set to us pulling up. Just want to make sure we don't trigger TPWS, so we'll take us down to 10. Almost got the whole train on the platform. There we are. We're not going to be anywhere near the buffers when we stop, but that's okay. Here we are. So that was Birmingham New Street to London Euston in the class 87. That was a great run. Yeah, recreation of the journey that I took. Yeah, I really did enjoy that one. The 87, yeah, it's... If you're not keen on the Dovetail Games 87, this one is not going to appeal to you either. But I thought it was great, and it was able to deal with this run no problem at all. Do need to get to grips with that braking system though, with it turning or causing the notches of power to drop down. I've got no problem with it doing that, but it just came as a bit of a surprise. So that's something else I need to consider next time I take this out for a spin, which I will certainly be doing. One speeding error for the whole run, I will certainly take that. I mean, obviously, ideally it would have been a clean run, but yeah, I've got no problem with just the one. So yeah, there we are. Great run, you know, on a great route and in a really great loco. Well, I certainly like it anyway. So that is this video done, and we will see you at the next one.